Russia has been making some military moves in Nigeria.
Nigeria has signed a military technical cooperation agreement with the Russian Federation.
And it's not a surprise that the United States has also been stepping up.
We are learning new details about the deadly strike operation that President Trump says he ordered on Islamic State terrorists in Nigeria. The U.S. military reports multiple ISIS terrorists were killed in the attack.
Within the span of a few months, Moscow quietly deepened defense ties with Abuja, while Washington launched precision strikes on Nigerian soil. No one officially connects these developments. But in geopolitics, timing is a language of its own. Nigeria isn't just another country. It's Africa's most populous nation with 237 million people. It produces 2 million barrels of oil daily. It sits at the gateway between West Africa and the volatile Sahel region. And for over a decade, it's been fighting an insurgency that has killed tens of thousands and displaced millions. That combination makes it a strategic anchor. When major powers increase their presence here, even unrelated moves begin to interact. Russia's engagement with Nigeria isn't new, but the pace has changed. In May 2025, Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff traveled to Moscow for discussions on military technical cooperation. Russian officials described Nigeria as a strategic partner. The talks covered training programs, arms supplies, intelligence sharing, and drone technology. Russia even offered to donate weapons as part of what they framed as solidarity against terrorism. This wasn't a formal treaty announcement. It was the kind of quiet diplomacy that builds long-term positioning. A few weeks before that meeting, Russia's Deputy Defense Minister Yunusbek Yevkurov had been traveling across the Sahel. He visited Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, where Russia has been steadily expanding influence through what Moscow now calls the Africa Corps. This is the state-controlled successor to the Wagner Group, which operated in the shadows for years before being formally absorbed into the Russian Ministry of Defense. The Africa Corps doesn't advertise its presence. It embeds advisors, trains local forces, provides equipment, and it does so without the kind of public scrutiny that follows Western military engagements. Russia's model in Africa is distinct. There are no large bases, no carrier strike groups, no visible troop deployments that make headlines. Instead, there are training agreements, arms deals structured as donations or favorable credit terms, advisory frameworks that integrate Russian personnel into local command structures, and an emphasis on sovereignty, a message that resonates with governments tired of being lectured by the West. This approach has allowed Russia to expand influence across the Sahel without triggering the kind of immediate pushback that comes with overt military presence. Nigeria has been watching this model work elsewhere. In Mali, Russia helped train forces and provided equipment after France withdrew. In Burkina Faso, Russian advisors assisted a military junta that took power in 2022. In Niger, where the US once had a major drone base, Russian personnel arrived after American forces were asked to leave. The pattern is consistent. Russia moves in where Western influence recedes or where governments want alternatives. And Nigeria, which has been diversifying its security partnerships for years, sees value in that approach. The United States operates differently. American engagement in Nigeria has historically centered on intelligence sharing, surveillance, and rapid response capabilities. The US has provided training to Nigerian forces. It has shared satellite imagery and signals intelligence. And when targets present themselves, it has the capacity to strike with precision. That's exactly what happened on the evening of December 25, 2025. U.S. forces launched coordinated strikes on 2 ISIS-affiliated camps in Sokoto State, northwest Nigeria. Tomahawk cruise missiles fired from a naval vessel hit the first target. 16 GPS-guided munitions from MQ-9 Reaper drones struck the second. The operation was coordinated with Nigerian authorities. Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuggar confirmed that President Bola Tinubu had been briefed and had given approval. The strikes were narrow, targeted, and deliberate. Trump framed them as retaliation for violence against Christians, though the targets were ISIS operatives known to attack both Muslim and Christian communities. This is where timing becomes significant. Russia had been deepening military engagement with Nigeria for months. The Africa Corps was expanding across the Sahel. Nigerian defense officials were in Moscow discussing cooperation. And then the US launched strikes on Nigerian soil. The operations weren't connected by causation, but they overlapped in a way that reshaped the strategic environment. When multiple powers increase activity in the same space, even unrelated moves begin to interact. Russia builds influence quietly. The US projects power decisively. These are not opposing strategies in the sense that one tries to counter the other directly. They are parallel approaches that occupy different niches. Russia offers long-term partnership frameworks, training, equipment, access. The US offers intelligence superiority, precision strike capability, rapid response. Nigeria doesn't have to choose between them. It can accept both, and that's exactly what it's doing. This isn't Nigeria being pulled between powers. It's Nigeria positioning itself. The government in Abuja has been clear about its approach. It will work with any country that helps it address security threats without imposing political conditions. Russia offers military cooperation without lectures on governance. China offers infrastructure without demanding electoral reforms. The US offers technological superiority and strike capability. Nigeria takes what it needs from each and uses the competition to maximize its leverage. This dynamic is not unique to Nigeria. Across the Sahel, similar patterns are emerging. In Mali, Russian advisors work alongside a military junta that expelled French forces. In Burkina Faso, Russian personnel train local troops, while the government distances itself from Western partners. In Niger, where the US operated a major drone base for nearly a decade, American forces were asked to leave in 2024 after a military coup. Russian and Turkish personnel arrived soon after. The geopolitical map of West Africa is being redrawn, not through wars, but through shifting partnerships. What makes Nigeria different is its size and strategic weight. Mali has 23 million people. Niger has 27 million. Burkina Faso has 23 million. Nigeria has 237 million. It's the largest economy in Africa. It produces significant oil and gas. It has the region's most capable military, despite years of fighting Boko Haram and Islamic State affiliates. When Nigeria diversifies its security partnerships, it signals to other countries that hedging is viable, that alternatives exist, that Western dominance in security partnerships is no longer inevitable. Russia's approach in Nigeria mirrors what it has done elsewhere, but with more discretion. In Syria, Russian military presence was overt and backed by air power. In Libya, Wagner mercenaries operated visibly alongside the Libyan National Army. In the Central African Republic, Russian trainers embedded deeply with government forces. But in Nigeria, where the government is more stable and the international spotlight is brighter, Russia's engagement is structured differently. It's advisory, technical, low visibility. The kind of partnership that builds influence without provoking immediate responses from other powers. The United States has responded to Russia's Africa expansion primarily in places where it already has significant presence or where strikes can be justified on counterterrorism grounds. The Christmas Day strikes in Nigeria fit that pattern. The US didn't establish a new base. It didn't deploy ground troops. It used existing naval assets and drone capabilities to hit targets that Nigerian authorities had agreed upon. This maintains American relevance without committing to a permanent footprint. It shows capability without occupation. But the overlap creates tension even if no direct confrontation occurs. Nigeria now hosts Russian military advisors and benefits from American intelligence and strike capability. Both powers are expanding engagement at the same time. Both are framing their involvement as counterterrorism support. And both are aware of the other's presence. This isn't Cold War competition where proxy conflicts erupt into violence. It's something more complex. A convergence of interests that coexist without formal coordination. China operates in a parallel dimension. While Russia focuses on military cooperation and the US on strikes and intelligence, China builds infrastructure. Railways, ports, power plants, free trade zones. In January 2025, China and Nigeria signed agreements for local military production, allowing Chinese defense contractors to manufacture equipment inside Nigeria. That's not just arms sales. That's technology transfer, industrial partnership, long-term integration. China doesn't need to choose between Russia's military model and America's firepower. It offers a third path entirely. The result is a fragmented security environment where Nigeria can play multiple powers against each other. accept Russian training, use American drones, build Chinese factories, and leverage each relationship to extract concessions from the others. This is not instability. It's strategic autonomy, and it's spreading. The Sahel has become a testing ground for post-Western security frameworks. France, which dominated the region for decades, has largely withdrawn. The US maintains some presence but has scaled back significantly. Russia has filled parts of that vacuum, not with overwhelming force, but with targeted partnerships. And countries are adapting. They're learning that security cooperation doesn't require alignment on values, that military partnerships can be transactional. That leverage comes from having options. Nigeria's insurgency makes it a natural destination for external security partners. Boko Haram has been active since 2009. Islamic State West Africa province split off in 2016 and controls territory in the northeast. A newer group called La Kurawa emerged in the northwest in 2024, with suspected ties to extremist networks operating across the Sahel. These groups attack military outposts, kidnap civilians, disrupt trade routes. The Nigerian military has been fighting them for over a decade with limited success. That creates demand for external support. And when multiple powers offer that support simultaneously, Nigeria can negotiate from strength. Russia's pitch is straightforward. We don't impose conditions. We don't lecture about governance. We provide training, equipment, and advisory support. If you want drones, we'll sell them. If you need expertise, we'll send advisors. And we frame it as partnership between equals. That message resonates with governments that have grown tired of Western conditionality. It's not necessarily more effective militarily, but it's politically simpler. The US pitch is different. We have the best intelligence, the most advanced surveillance, the precision to hit targets other countries can't reach. We've been tracking extremist networks in the region for years. We can share that intelligence, and when necessary, we can strike. But there are conditions, human rights standards, governance expectations, accountability mechanisms. For some governments, those conditions are worth it. For others, they're obstacles. Nigeria is betting it doesn't have to choose. It can accept Russian cooperation and American strikes. It can benefit from Chinese infrastructure and maintain ties with Western allies. This isn't ideological, it's pragmatic. And as long as no power demands exclusivity, the strategy works. The timing of recent developments doesn't suggest coordination, but it does reveal convergence. Russia deepened military ties with Nigeria in May. The US launched strikes in December. Both events were framed as counterterrorism support. Both were welcomed by the Nigerian government, and both occurred as other powers, including China and Turkey, were also expanding their presence. The overlap isn't accidental, but it's not orchestrated either. It's the natural result of Nigeria becoming a strategic priority for multiple powers simultaneously. What happens next depends on whether any power decides exclusivity matters. So far, no one has. Russia hasn't demanded Nigeria cut ties with the US. The US hasn't sanctioned Nigeria for engaging with Russia. China hasn't conditioned infrastructure on security alignment. Everyone is hedging. Everyone is positioning, and Nigeria is benefiting. But convergence has limits. At some point, overlapping interests create friction. When Russian advisors train Nigerian forces and US drones provide intelligence, who controls the operational picture? When Chinese factories produce military equipment and American surveillance tracks its deployment, who owns the data? These questions don't have clear answers yet, but they're becoming unavoidable. Africa isn't the future battleground. It's already the board. And Nigeria, with its population, resources, and strategic location, is one of the most contested squares. Russia's quiet push and US firepower aren't opposing moves in a zero-sum game. They're parallel strategies operating in the same space. And the country caught in the middle isn't passive. It's playing both sides, extracting value, building leverage, and redefining what security partnerships mean in a multipolar world. This story isn't about who caused what. It's about what happens when quiet influence meets visible power in a place that suddenly matters more than ever. And right now, no one knows how it ends.